Good afternoon and congratulations. When I first found out that I was going to be giving this speech, the administration said I had to get in the draft early so it can be learned and simultaneously signed in sign language. First I thought to myself, what are some words that would look awesome in sign language? But don't worry, people, no hijinks, no shenanigans. Can I see shenanigans? Oh, that's good? All right. We're having fun. As I look out at your faces, I'm struck. There's something about going to law school with such intellectual, intelligent, and hardworking people that, frankly, can get a little bit annoying sometimes. And maybe that's because it's easy to feel outclassed. I remember walking to my first final in law school. It was contracts. And the first thing I see is Jordan Pierce Bristol smiling at me. And she looked confident. Too confident. I wasn't that confident. Does she know something I don't? And then I saw her outline. It's in this fancy 3-ring binder. It's got at least 100 flags. And on the front it says, Jordan's contract outline. In bubble letters. Really fancy bubble letters. Like you buy in a store. So all I had was like a sheet of paper held together by a single staple. And it wasn't even stapled properly. Now, speaking of which, I'll bet the families here don't know, but Professor Bader actually teaches this first-year legal writing section a lesson about how to properly staple a stack of paper. And it makes sense if you think about it, because the LSATs test a lot of skills, but stapling proficiency is not among them. In fact, you can be a truly remedial stapler, and as long as you're good at logical reasoning and reading comprehension, you can still slouch into law school. I'm going to save everybody else some tuition dollars and just give away his secret. You staple in the top left corner on the diagonal, so when you flip, the pages turn neatly. However, mine was not stapled properly. It wasn't going to turn neatly, and I see Jordan with these 3 rings of page-flipping efficiency, dozens of flags, and fancy bubble letters. I said hi very quickly and took a seat on the other side of the room. I didn't even look at those bubble letters in the next 3 hours of my life. And I sit down and I hear a hello from a familiar voice behind me. It was Chris Hodge. He's a good man, has a lovely wife. Chris Hodge is bound for a law firm in Texas, perhaps given some affection for small government and big hats. At the time, Chris was sitting in the exam room wearing his Harvard sweatshirt. Not, he explained, because he's an elitist or he was trying to make a statement, but because it's his lucky sweatshirt. No, and he's a lucky guy. Case in point, he graduated from Harvard with honors. These are the kinds of things that could lead to a hyper-competitive atmosphere. And it's an atmosphere that rightly or wrongly gives law schools a bad name. Competing for grades, competing for ranks, competing at moot court. I remember being nervous law school was going to be like an episode of Survivor, only after people get stabbed in the back, they don't leave the island. They stick around for the next 3 years, sharpening their own sticks. But that's not UConn law. If anything, it's the opposite. One of my favorite memories from the first year of law school involves Mike Malloy. And before anybody asks, it isn't about him playing softball in jean shorts. By the way, can I give a shout out to this year's showing at the UVA softball tournament? Yeah, one of our teams got trounced by Regent University Law School. That's the one that Pat Robertson founded so people would pray harder in public schools. I told you guys, less drinking and more praying. So it was mid-May our first year. Mike Malloy and I have since become friends. I've even got to shoot a few paintballs at him. But at the time, I didn't know him very well. It was final exams, and there's something so great about the look on a 1L's face during final season, unless you're looking at it in the mirror. And I was on my way to my final exam for labor law, Professor Bishop. And I've got Taft-Hartley and unfair labor practices running through my head, and the look on my face was pretty obvious. It was clear where I was going. I passed Mike in front of the library, and he just flashed a smile at me and he said, "You're going to do great." And that's a pretty small thing. It doesn't take a lot of effort to give a little boost to someone who's about to go and do something hard. And yet the memory is distinct in my mind because it's the first time I thought about the happy warrior. It's a line that FDR used. He borrowed it from a Wordsworth poem. And FDR used it to describe Al Smith. It's since been applied to Winston Churchill. President Obama recently brought it out in praise of the late Ted Kennedy. It sums up a lesson I take with me from this law school. And that lesson is not only to attempt hard things, to continually challenge yourself, but also to embrace these challenges with a smile on your face. In most situations in life, better things tend to happen to you when you walk into a room with a smile on your face. It is the happy warrior who, quote, "whose high endeavors are an inward light that makes the path before him always bright." It is the happy warrior who, even in the darkest times, can find something in the world to inspire her, and in so doing inspires those around her. I think of Professor McCoy teaching securities regulation. It was an evening class about 9 o'clock at night in Chase 110, and she's explaining disclosure standards for publicly traded companies. It was about that time, some of you might know, 2.5 hours into a 3-hour-long seminar, when the words start blending together into this buzz that can put you to sleep, like one of those sharper image wave machines. But Professor McCoy was smiling, and she was engaged. This is a professor who's testified before Congress. She's written extensively about the subprime mortgage meltdown and financial reform, and at 9 o'clock at night, she conveyed that there was nowhere she would rather be than in that room teaching us the ins and outs of securities law. This enthusiasm is contagious, and it kept my mind somehow processing disclosure requirements in 10K and 10Q quarterly reports. And if you don't know what that means, Catty Eaton's brother can explain it. While movies involving strippers and professors wearing 2 different colored shoes might be among the more infamous occurrences in our time at this law school, and families, if you haven't heard these stories from your graduates, definitely ask about them. It's the happy warrior moments that I'll take with me. Of course, it's not always easy to wear a grin, to be optimistic. I'm not going to say much about the economy, but I will say this. What we've seen in the past several years is a profound statement as to the need for professional and engaged attorneys in our nation's regulatory structure. I read a newspaper article just as I was writing this speech, and I learned that while our financial system stood perilously close to collapse, there was a senior attorney at the Securities Exchange Commission spending hours and hours downloading gigabytes and gigabytes of pornography. Though probably not representative, this is a startling allegory for a culture that has emerged in the last 25 or 30 years, really the lifetimes of most of us graduating today. It is a culture that has come to regard our country's regulatory infrastructure at best as a redundancy to be condescended, and at worst as a check on progress to be attacked. This is a culture that we in the legal profession have special responsibility to help rebut. I hope that one day we can look to our nation's regulators, those in charge of maintaining fair play in the financial services industry, those in charge of monitoring oil rigs that could explode and foul our nation's resources. I hope that we can look to these agencies and find offices filled with happy warriors. In closing, I do want to say a few words to the families here today, and I think I speak for the whole graduating class. We thank you for all that you've done for us in the last 3 years. Some of you, Some of you we thank for your wisdom, others of you we thank for your financial support, most of you we thank for your patience, and all of you we thank for your love. Congratulations to the class of 2010. I look forward to seeing many of you in practice, maybe even at the opposing counsel table, hopefully with smiles on your faces. Thank you.